I took a night shift job at my old high school a few weeks ago. The extra cash helped with the bills after my husband left. I remembered the hallways filled with noise, laughter, and friends. But now, walking through them at night felt completely different. It was quiet, almost too quiet. On my third night, I heard giggles. The laughter was soft and drifted in from the gym. I thought maybe some kids sneaked in to play basketball. I shook my head, telling myself it was only memories echoing. But the laughter quickly faded, and I went back to my rounds, trying to shake off the odd feeling. The next night things got weirder. I noticed shadows darting in my peripheral vision, just out of reach. The lights flickered above me like they were trying to send a message. I felt uneasy, like something wasn't right. When I reached the music room, I saw muddy footprints leading right to the door. Who could have come in here? I hesitated for a moment but finally opened the door. It was empty inside. My heart sank, and I felt a chill crawl up my spine that it only escalated from there. I was sitting in the office one night when I saw a small figure dash down the hallway. My pulse quickened. I called out, "Hello." No answer. My heart raced. I thought I was just tired, maybe my mind was playing tricks. But I wasn't sure that a few nights later, I spotted the figure again. It was closer this time. I felt drawn to it, like I needed to know what it was. I sprinted down the hallway, but every time I thought I was getting closer, it slipped away. It was like chasing smoke. Panic rose inside me. I doubted my eyes and my mind. Then, I heard the laughter again. It echoed through the gym, bouncing around the empty space. I stood at the entrance, my heart pounding. I felt scared but tried to calm down. I took a deep breath and stepped inside, scanning the room. It was just the empty basketball court lit by moonlight. Suddenly, I heard a soft voice whisper, "Come play with us." I turned, but no one was there. That's when I truly felt it, I was not alone. The lights flickered violently, and I felt a knot in my throat. I had to leave. I bolted for the door. As I stumbled into the hallway, chaos swirled in my head. I didn't know what to believe. I just wanted to be home with my kids. I had that feeling again, like something had followed me out. Weeks later, I still think about that laughter and that soft voice. I can't shake off the feeling that those encounters aren't over. I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled into my bones after those encounters. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, that I was overthinking everything. But every night I returned to the school, the same whispers nipped at the edges of my mind. The shadows seemed to close in on me, almost taunting. On my fifth night, I decided to muster the courage to confront whatever was haunting the halls. I collected my flashlight and took a deep breath. I made my way towards the gym again, feeling the weight of my decisions creep up on me. This time, I wasn't looking to run, I was determined to face whatever it was I had been experiencing. As I stepped into the gym, the air felt heavier, like it was holding its breath. The faint scent of dust hung in the air. I moved cautiously, my flashlight beam illuminating the court. That's when I noticed something new: a small white chalk circle drawn on the floor, right in the center of the court. My heart raced. Who would draw something in a room like this? At night, I knelt down, inspecting it closer. It wasn't just a circle, it looked like it had been a bit more elaborate, with peculiar markings intersecting it. Suddenly, I heard that laughter again, closer this time, surrounding me like an unseen storm. I shot to my feet, my pulse thundering in my ears. "Show yourself!" I shouted into the empty space. Silence met my demand. I felt like a fool, standing there alone, but anger pushed me forward. I turned towards the locker room, my instinct screaming that I might catch something, anything, but when I reached the door, I was caught off guard. The door was slightly ajar, swinging slowly from a gust of air I couldn't feel. The laughter paused, replaced by the sound of soft shuffling just inside. I kicked it open and stepped inside. It was darker than I remembered, the lights flickering weakly. I scanned the room, tense in anticipation. Then, without warning, the lights went out completely. I stood frozen in darkness. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my flashlight. When I finally turned it on, I saw something that made my blood run cold. The locker doors were all pulled open, an eerie gallery of nothingness staring back at me. "Who is there?" I called out again, my voice trembling. The air felt charged, like a storm was brewing. That's when I saw it, a small figure darting by the far end, just a flash of white. My heart sank. I was terrified, yet something compelled me to chase. I rushed to follow, but the moment I stepped into the hallway, the pounding laughter erupted again, echoing up and down the corridor. I stumbled and paused. Was it mocking me? I turned to chase the figure, but as I did, everything fell silent. I felt a chill, like ice wrapped around my spine. Then, a voice this time clearer whispered, "Join us." I froze. What did that mean? I stood there, breathless, lost in fear. Something deep within me said I was running out of time. I had to make a choice. I could either stay and unravel this mystery, or I could run away and pretend none of this was happening. But as I looked down the hallway, every instinct told me the specters of my past weren't done with me yet. I took a shaky breath and stepped further into the darkness of the hallway. The laughter had faded, but the echo of that whispered invitation clung to me. Join us. Who were they? I felt a pulse of fear but also an unsettling curiosity. Maybe I had to discover the truth, no matter the cost. My flashlight beam cut through the shadows ahead, revealing the walls lined with faded teen posters and peeling paint. The air felt charged, almost alive, as if the very building was aware of my presence. I pressed on, footsteps echoing against the tiled floor. As I moved deeper, I heard a noise, a soft shuffling, like someone dragging their feet. It was coming from the art room. I turned towards it, heart pounding. Was I truly ready to confront whatever was hiding in there? Before I could answer myself, I found my feet carrying me toward the door. I pushed it open slowly, the creak cutting through the silence. My flashlight illuminated the room, revealing overturned chairs and scattered supplies. Then, I noticed something at the far end. A canvas stood propped against the easel, covered with a cloth. My curiosity mingled with fear. I had to see what it was. As I approached, the air changed, turning cold and heavy. I reached for the cloth and pulled it away, revealing a painting. It depicted the school but in a twisted way, darker, with figures lurking in the shadows, their faces obscured. My breath caught. It was like they were waiting for something, but it wasn't just the painting that sent chills down my spine. In the corner of the canvas was a small, barely visible chalk circle, similar to the one I'd seen in the gym. I stumbled back, my heart racing. What did it mean? "Run," a voice hissed softly from behind me. I whipped around, flashlight scanning the room. No one was there. But that voice echoed in my mind, demanding attention. I had to get out. The shadows felt like they were reaching for me. I took a step back, but in my panic, I stumbled over a chair, crashing to the floor. Pain shot through my ankle, but I didn't have time to think about it. I pushed myself up and bolted toward the door. Just as I reached it, the lights flickered back on, revealing the room in full brightness. But the painting was gone. My mind raced. Where could it have gone? It didn't make sense. I turned quickly to check the easel, but it was empty now. Panic gripped me again as I felt the air shift behind me, heavy with the presence of someone or something. "Join us," the voice repeated, but it echoed back, a chorus of whispers this time. I glanced over my shoulder and gasped. Figures began to materialize in the darkness at the edge of the room, hazy outlines of children, their eyes vacant, faces twisted in familiarity. Somehow, I felt I recognized them. Were these the kids from the painting? My thoughts collided as fear hit me hard. They were right there, gathering, as if waiting for me to take a step closer, to claim what I had stumbled upon. Then, I remembered the chalk circles. I knew I had to escape or risk becoming part of whatever had unfolded in this place. So I did the only thing I knew to do. I turned on my heel and ran, with the whispers swelling behind me, a haunting reminder of the choice I was so desperately trying to evade. I raced through the door and down the hallway, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. The whispers followed, weaving through my thoughts, urging me to turn back. I ignored them, desperate to get away from that room and the shadows creeping in. I reached the main corridor and paused, breathless. What just happened? Adrenaline kept me moving. I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see the figures spill out into the hallway after me. But I was alone, the silence feeling almost mocking. I leaned against the wall, trying to gather my thoughts. The school was more than just a building. There were layers, things hidden in the shadows. I felt the weight of the painting's gaze on me, and I was determined to understand what I had stumbled into. As I caught my breath, I noticed the gym door slightly ajar. Was it worth investigating again? Thinking about those chalk circles made me uneasy, but curiosity gnawed at me. I stepped toward the door, murmuring, "What if they're still here?" Pushing the door open, I stepped inside. It looked just as I remembered, emptiness stretching before me under the glow of the emergency lights. The gym felt more sinister now that I'd seen what lay beyond it. A cold breeze danced across the floor, a reminder of the shapes I had witnessed. Then I noticed something at center court. A glimmer caught my eye, and I moved closer to investigate. There, in the center of the gym, was another chalk circle. This one was larger, intricate even, with symbols drawn around the perimeter. I crouched down for a better look, a mess of spirals and dots, something I'd never seen before. Suddenly, I heard a loud bang from the storage room in the corner. My heart leaped, and I aimed my flashlight toward the sound. The door swung open slightly, as if inviting me in. I hesitated, torn between caution and the need for answers. "Come on," I whispered to myself, the prospect of the unknown both thrilling and terrifying. That I crept toward the doorway. Each squeak of the floorboards threatened to give away my presence. The air felt thicker here, suffocating, and I caught a glimpse of shadows moving inside the room. My stomach twisted in knots. What if it wasn't just my imagination? Then, through the half-open door, I spotted a figure, a girl around my age, crouching on the floor, murmuring something I couldn't make out. She looked familiar, her face hauntingly similar to one of the children from the painting. "Hey!" I called, my voice trembling. "Are you okay?" She froze. Slowly, she turned her head, eyes wide with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "They're waiting for you," she said, voice barely above a whisper before darting out of sight. I stepped back, my breath hitching. What did she mean? Who were they? The commands to join them echoed in my mind once again, more urgent than before. Then, as if that summoning had triggered something, all the lights flickered before plunging the room into darkness. A wall of silence formed, thick and palpable. I felt the air shift, as if the weight of hidden truths were pressing down on me. I needed to get out before whatever joined us made its presence known. My gut screamed at me to run, but the echoing laugh that followed me sent bile rising in my throat. Whatever was at play here wasn't finished with me yet. I turned and headed for the exit, pulse racing, mind swirling with questions and the underlying fear of what would happen next. I bolted through the gym door, stumbling into the hallway, still trying to shake off the dread that clung to me. The laughter echoed in my ears. I couldn't escape it. I turned a corner and pressed my back against the wall, trying to calm my racing heart. Why had I let my curiosity lead me into this? With quick, shallow breaths, I scanned the area. The hallways felt longer, darker. I could see the flickering lights ahead, casting jittery shadows that danced and twisted. I couldn't tell if it was from the faulty wiring or something else entirely. Just then, a low creaking interrupted my thoughts. It sounded like it came from the stage door at the far end of the hall. My feet were frozen to the floor. Part of me wanted to run, but another part felt a strange pull, like I had to know what awaited me there. Against my better judgment, I edged closer to the door. I pushed it a little, just enough to slip inside. The stage was shrouded in darkness, but faint light crept in through the cracks. I peered around, my flashlight beam bouncing off the dusty curtains. Everything felt frozen in time. Then, from the shadows, a figure stepped forward. The girl again, the one I had seen in the storage room. "You shouldn't be here," she hissed, lowering her voice dramatically. "Why? What is happening?" I demanded, fear and frustration bubbling over. "They're hungry," she said cryptically, eyes darting as if she could see what I couldn't. "The circles call to them. They want you." I took a step back, dread locking my knees. "Who wants me? What are you talking about?" "The shadows, they want to use you. Just like they used us," she continued, gestures becoming frantic. "You mustn't let them." I felt a flicker of hope rising in my chest. You were part of the painting, right? You can help me." She hesitated, considering. My heart pounded in anticipation. Would she share what she knew? Instead, she shook her head, settling deeper into the gloom. "I can't help you. But you're not alone anymore." Before I could react, she pointed behind me. I turned just in time to see movement creeping from the backstage area, shapes emerging from the darkness. They were shadowy forms, merging and separating, their whispers mixing together in a dreadful chorus. "Run!" the girl shouted, but it felt like the air was thickening around me, trapping me in place. Panic surged, and I pivoted, sprinting back the way I came, past the now open door of the storage room. The laughter rose again, more pronounced, sounding almost like a taunt. I burst into the hallway, heart in my throat. Looking back, I saw the shadows coiling and undulating. They weren't just figments of my imagination, they were real and coming for me. Just then, I caught sight of a familiar face at the end of the hall, my friend Lucas, standing there wide-eyed, a confused frown on his face. "What is going on?" "I came to find you." Relief washed over me for a moment before reality hit. What if he ends up trapped too? I shouted again for him to run. The shadows were gaining on me, and I knew time was running out. "Come on. We have to go," I yelled, lunging forward, desperate to pull him out of danger as the darkness enveloped the hallway behind us. Lucas's eyes widened as he processed my frantic tone. "What are you talking about? What's behind you?" He glanced over his shoulder just as the first shadow reached the edge of the hallway's dim light, and his face paled. "Run!" I screamed. My voice pierced the thick air around us, shaking him from his daze. He turned and sprinted toward me, fear driving his every step. The laughter crescendoed behind us, like a cruel symphony that quickened our pace that we didn't stop until we reached the exit door, slamming it open and bursting into the cool night air. The sudden chill helped clear my mind, but I couldn't shake the shadows from my thoughts. Glancing back, I reassured myself that we were outside, but the distant echoes of that unforgiving laughter still clung to my senses. "Did you see those things?" I gasped, dragging in deep breaths. "What were they?" Lucas shook his head, eyes dilated. "No, I didn't see anything until you started screaming. Just shadows, right? What's happening here?" I stared at him, uncertainty knotting in my stomach. "That girl said they wanted to use me, that the shadows were hungry. We need to figure out what that means." He nodded, his expression tensing further. "We have to warn everyone. This can't just be happening to us, right?" I thought about the girl, the way she had stepped out of the darkness. Maybe others are being affected, too. We might not be the only ones. We moved quickly toward the school parking lot, recalling the layout as we tried to plan. But as soon as we reached my car, an uneasy silence fell around us. My breath hitched as something nudged my memory, an eerie feeling that I wasn't alone even in the open air. "Lucas," I started, scanning the area. "Does something feel off? Like, do you feel watched?" His brow furrowed as he nodded slightly. "Yeah. It's like something is hiding in the shadows even here." I swallowed hard, glancing at the horizon, where a thin veil of mist rolled in, snaking its way around the parking lot. We need to find a safe spot somewhere we can think clearly, away from here. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I fished it out, half expecting some mundane notification. But my heart sank as I read the message that flashed across the screen: "They found you. Don't trust anyone." "Who's that from?" Lucas asked, noticing my panic. "I don't know," I whispered, but dread settled deep within me. "I don't want to stick around to find out." As we backed away, the mist thickened, enveloping us like a living entity. I blinked, and in that instant, I caught sight of another figure emerging from the fog. This one looked familiar, standing just beyond the dim light of the parking lot, tall and indistinct. "Is that?" Lucas moved forward hesitantly. I gripped his arm to stop him. "Wait. Don't go near." Before I could finish, the figure stepped closer, face obscured by shadows, and the laughter surged again, echoing in the open space around us. "Lucas!" I yelled as I turned to run, but it was too late. The mist closed in, and just like that, everything went dark. I jolted awake, gasping for air. The cool night pressed against my skin, but the fog still clung to me, tightening its grip like a vice. I blinked against the darkness, disoriented. Where was I? Panic clawed at my throat as I tried to remember. "Lucas!" I called, my voice barely above a whisper. I turned my head slowly, almost afraid of what I might see. The remnants of the mist swirled around me, but Lucas was nowhere in sight. The parking lot, once bustling with life, lay silent. My stomach twisted as I pushed myself up from the cold ground. It took a moment for my eyes to adjust, but I eventually spotted faint outlines of the school building. I was still outside, but the laughter had quieted, replaced by an oppressive stillness that felt worse somehow. "Lucas!" I shouted louder this time. Silence answered me. I stood, wobbly at first, and stepped into the fog, the damp air chilling my skin. I knew I had to find him. Frantic thoughts raced through my mind. What if that figure had taken him? What if they were waiting for me, too? The girl's warning echoed painfully: they wanted to use me. Taking a deep breath, I moved toward the school, trusting that maybe he had gone back in. The glass doors loomed ahead, but they were already ajar, swinging slightly as if inviting me inside. I hesitated only a moment before pushing them fully open, the hinges creaking in the silence. I stepped inside and immediately felt the weight of darkness settle over me. The fluorescent lights flickered sporadically, casting eerie shadows down the hallway. "Lucas?" I whispered again, heart racing. I walked slowly, every sound amplified. The clatter of my shoes on the tiles echoed like footsteps of something chasing close behind. The building felt abandoned, the usual buzz of activity stripped away like paint from an old wall. Then I heard a faint giggle, high-pitched and light, floating through the air. It sent a chill down my spine, triggering an instinctive urge to run. I turned toward the sound, heart pounding, unsure if it was friendly or a warning. "Come out!" I shouted half-heartedly, hoping it was just my imagination playing tricks. When no one responded, I pressed on, determined to find Lucas before whatever was out there found me first. I made my way to our classroom, the only place that felt somewhat familiar. As I reached the door, an icy breeze swept past me, and I froze. A chill rippled through the air, and an unmistakable sensation wrapped around me: a presence. It wasn't just the shadows this time, this felt more like awareness, sinister and alive. With a burst of courage, I turned and pushed through the door. The classroom was dark, papers scattered across desks. My heart sank at the sight of it. I stepped inside slowly, scanning for any signs of him. And that's when I saw something glimmering on the floor: a pendant. It was Lucas's. I rushed to pick it up, feeling a wave of dread wash over me as I clutched it tightly. Just then, a shadow shifted in the corner of my eye, and I whirled around. But the classroom was empty, the darkness swallowing all sound. And then, everything went dark again. I gasped, my breath catching in my throat as I stumbled back against the doorframe. Panic coursed through me, the pendant slipping from my fingers and hitting the floor with a soft thud. The darkness felt thicker now, wrapping around me like a shroud. It took a moment for my pulse to slow, but the silence was marked by something else now, a low whisper, almost tangible, creeping through my mind. I strained to catch the words, but they slipped away like smoke. "Lucas." I called again, my voice shaking. I picked up the pendant, my fingers trembling around the cool metal. The room seemed to pulse with anticipation. I could feel it, the air was charged, as if something was waiting for me to make the next move. Maybe I should just leave. But what if Lucas needed me? What if he was in trouble? I couldn't just abandon him. Gathering my courage, I moved deeper into the classroom. Light flickered overhead, illuminating a part of the far wall. There, I saw at a door I had never noticed before. It stood slightly ajar, a faint glowing light spilling out. I hesitated. Was that where Lucas had gone? I felt pulled toward it, but dread gnawed at the edges of my resolve. Just as my hand reached toward the doorknob, the whispering swelled, louder now. It sounded like my name, mixed with laughter. I stumbled back, fear surging through me again. "Enough!" I shouted. "Show yourself!" The room fell quiet. I could hear my heart pounding, the heavy silence amplifying my sense of urgency. I took a step into the light. The air felt different there, sharper, like a winter's breath. As I crossed the threshold, I froze. On the other side was a staircase leading down into darkness. Curiosity battled with fear in my chest. Should I go down? What lay beneath the school? Before I could decide, another sound reached my ears, scratching, like nails on wood, beckoning me downward. I peered cautiously over the edge. The staircase twisted down, dimly lit by the same unnatural glow. The laughter echoed again, this time unmistakably mocking. I shuddered. My instincts screamed at me to retreat, yet something else compelled me forward. I couldn't turn back now. Once I stepped onto the first stair, a frigid gust rushed past me, slamming the classroom door shut behind me. I jumped and turned to face it, panic rising as I realized I was truly alone. Images of Lucas flashed through my mind, memories of his laughing face. I couldn't just let him disappear. With a deep breath, I descended, each step weighted by uncertainty. The scratching grew louder, merging with the whispers until they melded into one gripping cacophony. My heart raced as I reached the bottom, and just then, the whispers stopped. There was a doorway at the bottom of the stairs, cloaked in darkness and illuminated only by that same eerie light. I could feel it drawing me in with an unsettling pull. I paused, the shadows clinging around me like fingers, both comforting and threatening, and that's when I saw it, a pair of glowing eyes staring back at me from the shadows. I held my breath, staring into those eyes. They were sharp and bright, cutting through the darkness. A chill ran down my spine. Fear wrapped itself around me, but I couldn't look away. "Hello," I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. The eyes blinked slowly, almost lazily, and I felt an odd mixture of dread and intrigue. What was down there? In that moment of hesitation, the glow flared slightly, illuminating more of the space around it. I could make out a figure, slim, almost delicate, standing just behind the eyes. It shifted slightly, and my heart raced. Was it Lucas? "Lucas?" I called again, a hint of desperation creeping into my voice. The figure stepped closer, moving just into the edge of the light. I squinted, trying to see more, but shadows clung to it, hiding details. "Help," a voice echoed, soft and shaky. It was so faint that I wasn't sure I'd heard it right. The urge to run clawed at me, but I had to know. "Is that you?" The eyes narrowed slightly. "It's safe." The voice was different now, smooth like honey but carrying an edge that made me shiver. "Come closer." I took a cautious step forward. What happened to Lucas? Nothing. The answer dripped with a playful tone, almost mocking. He is exploring. Exploring? I echoed, confusion washing over me. What do you mean? In response, the figure drifted closer into the dim light. It resembled a person, but something felt wrong. The face was too smooth, the features too perfect. My insides twisted as I felt the wrongness deepen. He is where he belongs, it said, a smile spreading across its face that a wave of panic surged through me. What did that mean? I didn't want to be here anymore, but I also didn't want to leave without Lucas. I need to find him. Please, just let me see him. The figure tilted its head to the side, amusement dancing in its unsettling glow. You'll see him. I took another step back, heart pounding in my chest. What do you want from me? The figure laughed, a sound that echoed in the hollow space. To play, it replied, its voice now layered with an inexplicable darkness. You're the guest. Before I could respond, the eyes flicked to something behind me. I turned as a loud crash rang through the hallway, reverberating off the walls. My heart raced as panic surged through me. It sounded like something or someone was approaching. The figure seemed to dissolve back into the shadows. Come and find me, it said, voice dripping with an undercurrent of danger. Or there will be consequences. I turned, adrenaline fueling my next decision as I ran back toward the staircase. My feet moved quickly over the steps, but a sudden chill wrapped around my ankles, like fingers pulling me back. No! I yelled, hearing the laughter echo behind me. I reached the top and flung myself through the doorway. The classroom door loomed, but when I tried to push it open, it wouldn't budge. Panic tightened my chest. I was trapped. Then, the laughter returned, this time louder, echoing around me, filling the space with a chilling promise. Someone was watching me. I felt it in my bones. I needed to escape, but I had no idea how. And that's when I saw it again, a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. Something was emerging from the darkness, and it wasn't Lucas. The door creaked loudly, and I froze behind it, heart thumping in my ears. The laughter echoed off the walls, but it seemed to shift, lacing through the air like strands of silk. Desperation clawed at my insides as I pounded on the door, shouting, "Let me out! Let me out!" Suddenly, a chill rushed through me, wrapping around my legs like a serpent. I looked down to see shadows creeping closer, twisting and coiling. My breath came in quick gasps as I gripped the doorknob, my fingers slick with sweat. With a furious twist, I pulled. The door groaned but finally swung open, thrusting me into the dim hallway beyond that. I stumbled out and ran, my feet pounding against the tiles, but the shadows closed in, racing alongside me as if to lure me back. I could barely make sense of where I was going, but my instincts led me past the abandoned classroom and toward the gym where it all had started. The doorway loomed ahead, tempting and familiar. I rushed inside, panting, the heavy air filling my lungs. My flashlight flickered as I scanned the vast space. There it was, the chalk circle, larger than the others, glimmering ominously in the center. It seemed to pulse, flaring with energy that made my skin prickle. "No," I whispered, feeling the whispers of the children pressing in around me again. Despite the terror coiling in my stomach, I felt drawn to the circle. It felt like a threshold, a boundary between fears and revelations. "Join us," came a soft voice from the shadows, echoing the invitation from before, drawing closer. I shook my head. "Get away from me!" I shouted. The laughter swelled, a chorus of taunts rising up around me. Summoning every ounce of courage, I took a step towards the circle. "If you want me, come and get me." The laughter faltered for a brief moment, but the atmosphere thickened, a looming silence engulfing me. I dropped the pendant in the center of the circle, my heart racing. As it landed, a soft light emanated from it, illuminating the intricate symbols of the circle. The shadows began to circle it, swirling like storm clouds. I watched in horror as vague shapes emerged, the outlines of familiar faces threaded with the essence of loss. And then, at the center of those shadows, I saw Lucas's face, the shimmer of the pendant casting his expression into view. My heart sank. He looked trapped, caught in the web of the shadowplay. "Help me," he murmured, but his voice sounded far away, distorted by the darkness. "No. I'm not leaving without you," I yelled, stepping closer, but the shadows leaped toward me, attempting to pull me back. I could feel their icy fingers brushing against my skin. Adrenaline surged. "This stops now," I screamed, every ounce of defiance bubbling to the surface. In a moment of clarity, I pivoted and bolted toward the exit, a wild impulse coursing through me. A gust of wind rose as the shadows shrieked, swirling in a chaotic frenzy as if they were becoming unmoored from the circle that had bound them. The laughter transformed to anguished wails, echoing against the walls that I raced through the gym door and into the hallway, my heart galloping in my chest. I didn't stop, didn't look back, the shadows undulating and wailing behind me. I burst outside, the cool air slapping my face, the brightness of the moonlight forcing the shadows to retreat. I turned and stumbled into the parking lot, gasping for breath. But the eerie silence replaced the laughter. I was out far from whatever darkness had shadowed me. As I reached my car, I halted, the panic still gripping my throat. Looking back at the school, I felt the weight of something unfinished lingering in the air. The shadows receded but remained whispering, their presence brushing against my resolve that I could never know what had truly happened to Lucas beneath that school or what the shadows sought from us. I glanced at my phone again, still buzzing with that ominous message, "They found you." As I drove away, I still felt them watching, and deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Something waited within that darkness. It was only a matter of time before I might have to confront it again. That I moved to a different town afterward, but sometimes at night, I still think of the laughter echoing in the halls of my old school. I wonder if those shadows are still waiting for someone else to join their twisted game. But for now, at least, I kept my distance.